appreciate y'all being on it for people that can't come, but maybe they can see it at a later date. So that's good. You know, after last year, I think I'm gonna put this in just real quick, because you talked about how helpful this was to you, about we're not saved by emotional highness. I think that'd be good to throw in here as we talk about being down and things are not great all the time. Just a real quick theology for 5 minutes, and we'll move on to the topic. Okay, okay. All right, good deal. Hey, David, do y'all have a password? Do y'all have Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Is this where 2.4G, is that y'all?
Yeah, or 5G. Both of them are ours.
Y'all need that password?
Yeah. I'll give it to you when it comes up.
Use my hotspot. I just thought this might be quicker. But if not, I'll use my hotspot.
Alright, it's capital.
Could you get type real quick?
Yeah, it's John 3:16, but Hate to interrupt the conversations, but it is time to come back together and go ahead and get going.
I know. And everybody's gonna blame me. Now, I hope I think they're gonna blame me now.
No, it doesn't work that way here. Yeah, we're going to leave everything to him. Okay. Wait a few, or? Oh, okay. Well, before Mike gets back up here to speak, let's have a prayer, okay? Holy and righteous Father in heaven, we thank you for a beautiful day that you've created, a beautiful day that you've given us. We're grateful that we get to see the beauty of your creation out here. We're also thankful, Father, for Mike and Woodson Chapel being a part of our lives throughout the years and being able to experience that now. We ask you to be with him through the rest of this seminar and be with everyone here who hears these things. Help those who might be struggling with depression and grief, and let them know that there's people who care and understand, and pray that we can help others through grief and depression, and let them know they're not alone. We thank you, Father, for all these things. We thank you most of all for Jesus Christ, who died for us. It's in his holy and precious name that we pray. Amen.
Well, we could have stayed on time if Mark hadn't had that long prayer, so. Mark, you're just going to have to take the fall for all of us. I appreciate your team attitude there. Well, I hope some of this stuff has been beneficial to you. I hope it hadn't been depressing. And let's do a little bit, just real quickly, before we get into number 3, what to say and not to say to people in tragedies. As we get into this, as we mentioned, there's a lot of similarities in depression and grief. The initial wound and gash does feel the same, but they are different. And a lot of people, because I do have a propensity for depression, I actually had another pretty bad one 6-7 years later, but I knew what I was going through, so I came out of it quicker. I knew I was in. I knew what I had to do, came out of it quicker. But a lot of people were worried about me when Lisa died going into depression, and I could tell I wasn't. Now, I was real sad every single day and every single night, but I was very functional. I didn't enjoy life, but I got up and did what I was supposed to do to the best I can. And I know initially you might not be able to do that, but I just want to encourage you. But one thing about the emotion of depression and grief as it relates to our salvation and being saved. And I covered this real quickly last year. I'm going to do it real quickly, then we'll kind of get into this next one here. When when I was a young man and then a teenager, I kind of thought this is the way our salvation went, that we kind of be as good as we can for God. Really, when we get baptized, work, get involved in the church, and we should do all that. We should be active. But then if we could get up like maybe 45, 50%, then God's grace will come down and carry us the rest of the way. That is blasphemous, sacrilegious, false doctrine, and heresy. Can I put it any clearer? This is the biblical view. We're at 0. When we get baptized, God comes down 100%. We are saved by grace. We are saved by grace immediately and nothing but grace. Our activity for God, our dedication to God, our attendance, our visitation, our outreach, our service, that is done in response to our salvation, not to get us to heaven. You should not be living for God so He'll save you. You should be living for God because He's already saved you. And you're doing that in appreciation, okay? So this is what happens that should be very comforting. So for the rest of your life, you are justified or declared perfect. You're not perfect, but you're declared perfect. Just like when President Nixon was pardoned by President Ford. Was he innocent? No, he should have gone to prison, but he didn't. He was declared innocent. Could President Nixon have gone to another town and run for mayor? Yeah. He could go to Kroger's and Dairy Queen. He wasn't really innocent, but he was declared that. That's what you and I are. That will happen your whole your whole life till you die. Your sanctification is not your justification. Your justification is your standing before God, your legal standing, which is perfection based on Christ. Your sanctification is your personal dedication to God. It is not constant. It waxes and wanes, as the old King James says. When I've been going through tough times, I felt a lot more dedicated when I was in college. And actually, the Mike prior to 2004 was more dedicated than this one. But I'm just as saved because it's not based on your emotion. And again, like during my depression, which is there, I thought I was going to hell, but you know what? I wasn't. I had already been declared perfect. So some people need to tense up and get on with God. Other people need to relax and get on with God. I don't know where you're at, but that's not today's lesson. This is. What not to say. Proverbs 25:11 says, "A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pictures of silver." In Samuel, a quick Bible story to illustrate this. Hannah was praying for a kid. She could not have a kid. And this was the birth of Samuel. And this guy named Elkanah. He was a Levite, priestly tribe, and he had 2 wives. That doesn't mean God was crazy about that, but He allowed it. Hannah and Peninnah. Hannah could not have kids. Peninnah could. Peninnah was, I think she was in the 8th grade because she was a bully. This girl was just out of the 8th grade. And she used to provoke her sister and make fun of her, mock her. I got kids. Yes, I do. I got kids. How about you? You don't have any, do you? Is it this many? And it was terrible. And Hannah got so depressed she couldn't eat, or she just constantly crying. Well, her husband had never read this verse. Elkanah said, "Honey, why do you weep? And not eat? Why is your heart sad?" He looked a lot like Elvis. "Why are you so sad? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? Good night. You got me. Why are you crying because you don't have kids?" "Thank you very much." That's pretty insensitive, okay? Guys, we need to take some notes on that. When I was coaching, Coach Spann, he's the guy closest. I was actually his assistant when this was taken. A few years after this season here, one of our managers, one of the girls on our managers for our team, had anorexia. And this is how stupid I was at this time. This is why we just cannot remain ignorant. I thought anorexia was an eyesight disorder, because if you look in the mirror and you're real skinny, how could you think you're overweight? So I thought, there's something wrong with the eyes. So this little girl was just distraught every single day. And we had heard she was dealing with this, and she was not painfully thin, but she was a thin-bodied. She was like the way I wish I was now. I mean, I wish I was like that. She was thin, but not frailly thin. But she definitely wasn't a pound overweight. And you'll see how helpful I was. I said, "Hon, stand beside me." I said, "Look at your leg and my leg. My leg's bigger than yours." I said, "Is my leg fat?" She said, "No." I said, "See?" Boy, that solved the problem right there. I was just a wonderful counselor. Just stupidity. What we try to do, the proverb writer says, when we sing cheerful songs to a person with a heavy heart, to try to get them to get over it and move on. He said, it's like stealing somebody's coat in the winter. Saying the right thing in the right circumstance. Lisa passed away on a Thursday. That Sunday morning, I did go to church. I could not, I didn't stay for class. I just couldn't. But I did go to church, and I knew I had to. I didn't want to, but I knew I've got to go. I just need to go. And so I got up real early to go jogging, because I was in a lot better shape back then. And you'll find tomorrow in our lesson about Lisa's life, I stayed in shape taking care of her, because picking up people that are paralyzed keeps you in shape. And so I went outside to start jogging, and I said, I hope a neighbor sees me and jogs with me. Well, I thought the Lord was answering my prayer. I literally get out on the street, and a guy that used to go to our Woodson Chapel, one of my neighbors, he comes right by, and oh, great. And so we're jogging along, and I had somebody to jog with on this sad Sunday. And he said, Mike, it wasn't meant for Lisa to live a long time. You have to accept it and move on. And in Tennessee, we say, bless their heart, when they're an idiot. And here's the thing. That guy loved me. He loved Lisa. But sometimes we just need to be quiet. Coach Spann, the guy I mentioned earlier, I don't know if y'all remember a few years ago in Tennessee, we had a preacher got shot with several other people in church in Nashville. That's him. He was the one. Lady was killed by a gunman. Shot him, his wife, several other people. He lost his dad. And his dad loved to lead singing at the Sunday night singings once a month. His church would do the singings. When those Sunday nights approached, Coach Spann said he had to walk out of the building, walk out of the auditorium, because he knew his daddy would normally be getting up there to lead singing. And Coach Spann was on the church staff. He was the youth minister. And at the next elders meeting, the elders had noticed that, and they said, Joey, we've noticed you walk out during that time. He said, we've all lost our fathers. So you're supposed to toughen up and stay in there. See, that's just insensitivity to somebody's grief. I asked him, he lost his wife from COVID. And so Coach Spann and I, we talk all the time. I said, all right, Coach, what are some dumb things you've already had said to you? And he said, how you doing? Someone's just lost, how you doing? You know what? Nobody's doing good after a death. How you doing? A group of professional psychologists were having dinner. One of them had a wife who was in the latter stages of cancer. His friend asked, how's she doing? How's she doing? She's at the end. And the guy with the wife that was dying said, well, Jim, she's dying. And he said, well, we're all dying. Some people should not be counselors. And what it is, we want to say something real quick and cute and spiffy to get them to move on. And the guy that wrote this book, I really recommend this book to you. I've gone through his book, and he got that title from the Proverbs about not trying to pep somebody up after a loss, but just being there. Here's some things that I have heard, some things he brought up, some things in my personal experience. Never say this. I know how you feel. Let's go back to Brother Hubert. At age 102, lost 3 wives. What if he were to come up to me after I lost Lisa and said, I know how you feel? Does he know how I feel? What if after he lost his 3rd wife, I said, yeah, I lost Lisa, I know how you feel? No, it's 2 different ballparks. Okay? When someone loses someone after 50 years, that's different than 36 or 26 or 16. But the initial wound and gash, it feels the same. And I was doing a funeral for a relative. She happened to make it to 101. And her great-granddaughter, about 14, did part of the eulogy. And this little great-granddaughter's up there bawling while she reads her eulogy notes. And then I'm going to get up and speak. She's bawling. I'm sitting there going, you got to see your great-grandmother, and she's bawling like it was her mom. And I'm sitting here being jealous, going, I wish Lisa could have seen her great-grandchildren. She needs to see her great. But see, that's not fair because that was that little girl's grief at that moment. Okay? And my OCD kicked in, and I start doing math. At funerals, you always see me with a calculator. They're worse than I was. Or I had it worse than they did. It will get better. Really? Have a kid that gets killed? It's going to get better? It was for the best. At least she's not suffering. You know, Lisa's not suffering, but I am. I know Lisa's not suffering. Now, it's okay for the victim or the one you're talking to go. For me to go, Lisa's not suffering, it's okay. That's okay. But for you to tell me, but Lisa's in a better place. I know she is, but I'm not. Just because they are. You believe that? That's garbage. We had a school shooting in Nashville 2 years ago. We had some little elementary school kids got killed. Will time heal those families' wounds? No. That doesn't mean they're going to be in bed the rest of their life crying every single moment. Okay? That's we think because somebody can get out and still go to work after tragedy that time has healed their wounds. No. They're just in survival mode. And here's one on theology. Now, there is a permissive will of God in that, did God know that the guys that flew the planes into the towers, did he know that was going to happen? Yeah. Could he have stopped it? Yeah. He could have smacked every one of those terrorists out of the line. He could have made it where they didn't let them on the plane, but he allowed it. So there is a permissive will of God. But to say that everything that happens is God's will, God does use everything that happens for His purposes. But are birth defects God's will? I know that God knew that Lisa would get ALS in eternity past. He had billions of years to decide to not let her get it, but he did. But I don't think he gave it to her. God must have needed her more than us. People have said that to kids. God needed your mother. Think about a kid hearing that God needed my mother. No, God does not need anybody's mother. The kid needs the mother, not God. God doesn't snatch people up when he's ready. Here's a dumb one. God only takes the good one. What does that say about the rest of us? Why are we still here then? And then the one we talked about, Lisa's looking down. I've had people say that. And see, I've earned the right to say, I hope she's not. I hope she is not looking down on me. I hope she's flying around, whatever they do up there. Lisa kept a garden. That was a garden she kept out in our backyard. And one relative said to me, God must have needed somebody to take care of his garden. I went, you mean you don't think God can hire enough help up there? I bet God could even grow his own stuff in the garden when we have the big meal up there one day. I don't think God needed Lisa. Keep a stiff upper lip. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'm not stronger. I'm surviving. I'm not stronger. After Lisa passed away, we had a little student newspaper, and one of the students interviewed me, and she asked me, has your faith gotten stronger since you lost your wife? I said, no, it has not. I'm not as strong as I used to be. I said, I have more empathy now. I now get it. You know, when you go to the funeral home and someone's lost someone, you feel sorry for them. It's terrible. And again, this is okay. This is what we do. We hug them, say bye, and then we get in the car and we go eat while they're still at the funeral home grieving. That's okay. That's just going to happen. But I don't take that stuff for granted. This was said to different people after these ladies had a miscarriage or a stillbirth. You'll get over it. You can have another one. At least you didn't become attached. There was an Oregon church van that wrecked and killed several teens like this. And one of the girls that survived was was told this, that you were spared for a reason. So she has lived with survival's guilt. And that just makes it worse. And what if you're the parents hearing that said to a girl and your kid got killed? So my kid didn't have a purpose, but this kid did because they survived. Always concerns me on, in Tennessee we have a lot of tornadoes. And here's somebody, they're interviewing them, and the house beside them has been destroyed. Their house did not even have a leaf blown out of the tree. House beside them was destroyed, and they go, Lord was with us. So glad the Lord was with. What if you're the other family watching that on TV? So the Lord wasn't with us, but He was with y'all. I just let them see them walk behind them going like that. Just kind of sad. Oh, I think we did that one. I don't know why I think. Oh, you're young. You can find another spouse. You can have another child. You should get out more. I thought you'd be over that by now. People have been through worse. This is no reflection on any of you that have lost a spouse and then you remarried. I think it's wonderful. It's not my deal. It's just not my deal. I think it's great that people do that. We have several people at Woodson Chapel that have lost spouses and they've remarried. Some of my very good friends, and I'm so glad for that. But that's just not my deal. So she dies in July. I go to a college basketball game in November, and one of the ladies doing the ticket, I grew up with her. We were friends as kids, and then her kids were in my class. And she was saying, Coach, I'm so sorry about what happened with Lisa. She said, but maybe you can find somebody else. I mean, we're 4 months out, and now I'm being signed up for the dating game. I don't get that. I don't understand that. Again, I think it's great when people do find someone. But what we want to do, we want to try to fix things quickly. You don't need to fix anything in someone's grief. You can't. You can just be there. Just being there. In Romans it says, rejoice with those who rejoice. Then it says, weep with those who weep. It does not say, fix those who are weep. Who weep. That's in stupid 12:15. And many of us have different translations of that. A word fitly spoken. Had a lady that taught with us at Lipscomb when I was teaching there. Her dad had faithfully preached for 30-something years, and he killed himself when he was taking painkillers. They did not know one of the side effects of these painkillers was suicidal thoughts. And this guy, one of the best people in the world, he killed himself. And at the funeral, and again, this isn't a preacher's story. That's sad. That becomes a synonym for lying, isn't it, Mark and David? That's a preacher's story, so it's probably not true. But she told me, she said there were people at the funeral home, a couple of people said, I'm sorry that your daddy's not going to be in heaven. I mean, boy, that's real comforting. Real comforting. When I was going through my depression, I did go to my son's games because he was a senior. And I'm so thankful. I would always do a highlight video of my kids' season, not just of them, but of the whole team. And so I'm in the middle of the depression. We get to the end of the season. Lisa says, Mike, you've got to do a highlight video. I said, I can't even function. I don't even want to be alive. I think I'm going to do a video. You know, I don't know how I did it. God had to, I don't even remember working on it. But I did it. And even though I do not remember my son's senior season because of my depression, I have the DVD. I can go back and watch it anytime I want because I made that. And I'm so grateful she pushed me to do that. But during that depression, one of the dads of a player came up and said, Coach, I'm so sorry about losing Lisa. No, excuse me, I'm getting my tragedies mixed up. Just so sorry about your depression. He said, our preacher had that and killed himself. And I remember thinking, please don't go into counseling. And the thing is, I don't get mad at these people. I just know that they don't know. But I want to encourage you, if you don't know what to say, don't say anything. Just say, hug them. I'm sorry for your loss. Hug them. Just anything. But the tendency to fix things overlooks their feelings. Where we think we have got to fix things, and we don't have to do that. These are some things. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm here for you. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you. I'm a phone call away, and just a hug. In Proverbs, it says, even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. President Lincoln said, better remain silent, be thought a fool, than to speak out and remove all doubt. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. And you don't have to fix everything that's wrong in their lives. In depression, I've had people say that they don't have enough faith. Depression is of the devil. And again, we talked about things you just can't say to people in depression, asking them to play the comparison game, think happy thoughts, get busy. It just doesn't work that way. Last thing, people do like to hear stories about their loved ones. Don't act like the loved one never lived. That hurts. I love when people, all the time I have people tell me stories about Lisa I didn't know. I had no idea. I didn't know she was a communist spy. Come to find out about that. That was a little disappointing. But this was one of my former students, and she, on my Facebook, she sent me this. She was one of my students, like the first year I ever taught. And she said, hello, Mike. I only knew Lisa that first year you were at MTCS, and I dreamed about her last night. I was doing something with children, and she walked up behind me and said, I'm going to help you get this done. She was always as pretty as ever and smiling. I do not know how I dreamed that or why I dreamed that, but it felt sweet. And I loved hearing that. I loved hearing stories like that. And keep the person's memory alive. We want to hear things about our loved one. Pleasant words are sweet for us. Well, tomorrow we're actually going to reverse the order. We're going to do all things work together for good for the class because I want everybody to hear the one on the faith journey that Lisa went through. And it's not just some little testimonial. It's a sermon. It's a sermon. And I think you'll be encouraged by it. It's sad, but again, it's not depressing. And so anyway, that's it for this morning's session. So we finished close. We're close. All right.